Welcome, college football fans, to Showtime College Football Episode 8.
So glad to be back. It has been a minute.
It's been a minute. You know, we had 4th of July. We were both doing our thing. I was moving into a new place. We've had a busy week. We're happy to be back with our most loyal fans. And now we are on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So with all the requests coming in to join YouTube, we are now doing YouTube, as you can see. So welcome.
Yes.
This is the first ever
Face reveal.
Showtime. That's true. Face reveal. Showtime College Football on YouTube.
Yeah, baby.
Isn't that kind of high?
Yeah.
That's kind of lit. It's kind of lit.
Dude, I'm excited. Whole new era of Showtime College Football. Now we're getting into it. We love you guys. We've got quite a bit of listeners now, and we're planning on keeping it going and making the season as fun as it can be. We're so excited for fall, and we're trying to fill your off season with more college football.
We're under 7 weeks now, under 50 days. So
7 weeks.
Very exciting. We'll try to do as much podcast stuff as we can. It might mainly just be Instagram just because, you know, it's the off season. But when the season comes, expect a lot of podcasts. So,
a
lot of videos.
Yeah, for sure.
Say that.
Yeah, and we'll keep it probably during the off season. We'll probably keep it to one episode a week as for right now. Maybe 2 if you guys are nice, but probably 1 right now.
Yeah.
1 per week.
Yes, that's correct. And then season comes around, we'll probably do 2. We'll do like a preview of the games and then like a recap what we thought of the games. So
yes, sir.
We're looking forward to that. But today on episode 8, we kind of wanted to talk about our personal preseason poll, power rankings, whatever you want to call it. And there's maybe some dark horse teams in there, you know. But first, Chase wanted to talk about some news. There hasn't been too much the last few weeks, especially since San Diego State decided to kind of pull back what they did to where there hasn't really been anything going on. So
yeah, things have settled a little bit with the Big 12, mainly with the expansion. The 4 teams finally joined on July 1st, BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. San Diego State was having their little dance flirtation with the Pac-12 and Big 12, leaving the Mountain West, and it turns out they're going to stay in the Mountain West as of right now. They might have some dues to be paid as a consequence of basically trying to leave. But we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated. The Pac-12 media expansion meeting is, I think, 2 weeks away from now. So there could be some movements around there. But as of right now, all quiet on the Western Front.
That is correct. It's very quiet right now. Not a whole lot going on. But yeah, so let's kind of jump into our personal power rankings, what we think. I feel like we haven't really talked about too much of what our personal opinions are. We've kind of just looked at, 24/7 or ESPN, kind of just talked about what they have about teams and their power rankings. But we wanted to share today our almost like tiers of college football this upcoming season.
Doing a top 25 is kind of hard. When you come down to like, okay, who's number 10 versus number 11, especially in a preseason, I like doing more of tiers, saying, all right, here's my top 5, here's my 5 through 12, because I feel like that's a lot more appropriate. For some teams, there's different levels. And so we're going to go through our top 25.
Yeah.
We have different opinions, so we're going to have 2 separate ones. But yeah, you want to start us off, you can?
Yeah, so my first tier is just the top 3 teams I think coming back. It's Michigan, because you have in my opinion, the best 2 running backs, the best dynamic duo in the backfield right there. And you also have their QB coming back. And then Georgia, just because, 2 national championships, Brock Bowers, arguably one of the top picks next year in the NFL draft. And then USC is my 3rd one. I think those are the top 3. Hard to go against Lincoln Riley and last year's Heisman winner, Caleb Williams. I didn't want to count them out. I think Caleb Williams wants to put USC in the playoff. I think he wants to bring home that championship.
Yeah, I agree with most of these teams here. I have Michigan at number 1 as well, and then Georgia. But my top 5 is a little bit different. I have Florida State, LSU, and Washington in my top 5.
Wow.
I wanted to be a little bit different.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I mean, Washington, I can see it because they have Penix and their 2 receivers.
Yeah.
Which I completely agree. Their offense is going to be lethal. But Florida State for me, Jordan Travis did have flashes of really good last year, but I
still got a lot of work to do.
I don't want to buy it quite yet because I mean, what were they last year? 9-3, 8-4.
Yeah, they might have gotten 10 because of their bowl game. So I think they're 10-3.
I don't want to jump into that too quick. I think they're kind of like next tier for me, just because I feel we don't know for sure yet. Because, like I said, it's kind of the end of the season when we saw them as a really good team. So.
Yeah, it's true. I'm definitely just riding the bandwagon because I think it's really fun. I'm excited to watch Florida State. LSU has Jaden Daniels coming back. A lot of people are riding that bandwagon right now with LSU and Brian Kelly. And then Washington, of course, I think is a dark horse. I did kind of go against my own self a little bit, putting Washington above USC. But I don't know. I wanted to make it interesting. So
yeah, I completely agree. And then kind of jumping, I guess another team I considered putting in the top 3 for me was Ohio State, just because they have, I think, the best receiver in college football.
Oh, yeah.
With Marvin Harrison Jr. I think even with C.J. Stroud gone, Ohio State has been an offense factory for years now. I think they will still put up points, especially with Ryan Day. I think he has probably one of the best offenses and has since he became head coach, to where I think Ohio State could also be in there. I want to say Bama just because it's Bama.
Sure.
It's Nick Saban, but I don't know because we don't know their QB situation yet. I'm sure their defense.
Question marks.
I'm sure their defense will be great, but it's just like this is the first time in a few years now I don't know who the Alabama QB will be, to where I don't know what to think of them.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. The Bama QB last year, underneath Bryce Young, did have some chances to play, but did not do that great.
That game against Texas A&M, they almost lost.
They almost lost
because Texas A&M didn't know what to run on a.
Yeah, that was crazy.
1st and 2 on the goal line.
Yeah, I have Bama in my 2nd tier, even though I think they probably should be in my 1st tier. I have them at 6. So, right there in the mix. I think you can never really count them out. It'll be a few years before you could ever count Bama out. It's going to take a while. So, for my next tier, I got my 6 to 12 teams.
That's how mine is.
In the rankings.
I have 5 to 11.
Yeah. So I've got Bama, USC, Penn State, Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas, Oregon.
Okay.
So those are my guys that are in that 2nd tier, which is playoff hopefuls. But they've got to do some. They're not an automatic. They got to prove something in the season. They have to win some games they're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
1 or 2 games. They can't have bad losses. But those are all teams I could very well see making the playoff.
What made you put USC at psych? I think it was 7 or 8 instead of top 4. Because a lot of people are saying USC, they're going to come out of the Pac-12, which they said for the last few years now, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
What made you drop them down to, or not even have, I don't think you had Utah in there, did you?
I did not have Utah in there.
Okay. And why is that? I mean, they're coming, I think Utah doesn't get enough credit, especially with Rising coming back. I mean, they're back-to-back champions now.
Yeah.
2-peat in the Pac-12, to where, I don't know, I'm just interested to hear why you chose to do what you did right there.
Yeah, so for me, the Pac-12 situation, the only reason I have USC below Washington is because I still don't trust their defense. I actually would love USC to win the Pac-12. In my own bias, I actually like USC the most in terms of Washington, Utah, USC, maybe Oregon too. But I just don't quite trust the defense yet, and defense is what gives consistency to actually win a championship.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's how I feel about it. Utah as well. I feel like Utah actually could be up here in some of the most talented teams. However, being in the Pac-12 this year, prove me wrong, Utah, but win those big games and then we'll talk.
No, I agree. I think the top 3 are Washington, Oregon, and USC for sure.
Sadly, I think Utah is just sitting there. I mean
that's how they've been played out the last 2 years, though. They're right there at 3 or 4, and then they end up winning it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't really never count them out.
Mm-hmm.
But
mainly last year against Oregon. I mean, Oregon. It was a close game for a little while, but Oregon kind of put their foot down. Was like, yeah, we're going to win this game.
I mean,
it didn't feel like it was that close.
I think it was 20-13.
It was close for the 3rd quarter.
It was the sloppiest.
We watched that game, I think, the end of that game.
Oregon, Utah?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't there. I didn't watch it.
Oh, okay.
So
I watched it then.
Oh, well, I didn't watch it. I was just following the game cast, and it was just
oh. Yo, was that when you were in Louisiana?
Yeah, I was at the
LSU
LSU game, and I just kept checking my phone when LSU was killing UAB.
We were doing that thing where we we're watching
we both
a game
know what's
and we're
happening,
just like
but we're
texting each
still
other
texting
the whole
each other,
time.
like, every play.
Yeah.
I'm sure all you guys do that too with people.
Yeah.
But going into my next tier, I kind of talked about Ohio State and Bama. I have LSU, Penn State, FSU, Tennessee, Washington, and Oregon. And kind of just building off Washington, Oregon, very similar to what Shay said. I think both their offenses are very lethal this next year. You have Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, and Franklin coming back, and then obviously Penix and his two receivers. I can't remember the receivers' names. I'm not a Washington fan. There's a reason I don't know them. But FSU, like I said, I'm not completely sold on the hype yet. And then Penn State, I think.
That's what I wanted to ask you about that.
Penn State, I think, honestly, I debated putting them a little bit higher because they finished off super high. And then we talked about them in our Big Ten podcast, Nick Singleton. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year. I think he's up there with Quorum.
Dang.
To where I think Penn State might actually, I don't know. I think it would be awesome if Penn State somehow shocked Michigan and Ohio State, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, so that's the question with Penn State. They can win 10 games almost every season. It's can they beat OSU and Michigan? Yeah. So how do you think that they'll win some of those games?
I think Michigan goes undefeated. Okay. Personally, I think Ohio State drops.
Michigan does go to Penn State this year. It is at Penn State.
Still, Michigan, I don't know. It's tough to say. I'd love to see Penn State win it all.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a 12-0, 13-0 Penn State team.
That'd be sweet.
Playoff.
I think Penn State
if a team is deserving of it, I feel like it's Penn State. They've been right there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah,
every year.
Penn State, Utah. Those are the two schools that I feel like have gotten the closest without ever going to the playoffs so far.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
You feel bad for those guys. Even as a BYU fan, I can admit that like Utah has deserved to playoff a few years. Not like they got gypped. They did lose some games, but like they've had teams that were good enough to go to the playoff, and I feel for you guys.
Yeah. Well, and then I have LSU, Tennessee, and Bama all in the same tier because it's kind of like USC, Washington, and Oregon. It's like I don't think they all play each other, but it's like some of those teams are going to have to lose because they play each other.
No, I think all three of those play each other.
Yeah, I guess they do.
Oregon, USC, Washington, and Utah.
Bama, Tennessee, and LSU.
Oh,
I don't know. I know Bama plays both, but I don't know other way around. But either way, I think it's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like looking ahead throughout the season, like where I think the rankings will end up, just based on what people play. That's kind of why I had them in the next tier, just because they all play each other. To where it's like one of them's gonna have to win all the games to be in the top. So
yeah, 100%. I think that. We'll see. I think that my main pick for Penn State, I think they beat Ohio State this year. I don't even know why. I just feel like they will finally because they just can't get over those two giants. And sadly, they're in the same division. We've talked about this in the Big Ten. I don't see Penn State like ever winning that division just because Michigan and Ohio State are just sitting in the same one. Now, luckily, next year, 2024, no divisions. Penn State will actually have a chance to go to that Big 12 championship game.
So do you think Penn State goes into Ohio State and wins this year, though? Because I just pulled up the schedule.
Yeah.
And they play at the Horseshoe, but they also are coming off kind of a non-conference. It's kind of like that second to last week for the SEC, but it's Big Ten. It's like middle of the season. They play UMass the week before Ohio State. So they can
game.
Like, kill them first two quarters, then rest the rest of their players.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see Penn State pull it off.
Yeah.
I love Penn State. I feel like Penn State's like the most neutral team.
Very likable.
I'll feel anyone. I've never met one person that hates Penn State.
Obviously, I'm assuming like Michigan and Ohio State fans don't like them, but that's because they play each other every year.
Yeah.
But I don't see much hatred towards Penn State. Mm-mm. I think their only rival would be like Pitt, but they don't play very often.
Yeah, they never play.
So,
or maybe they do. I just don't.
Maybe West Virginia. I know they play West Virginia often. They play West Virginia first game this year. But yeah, Penn State. Actually, I was thinking we could do an episode about that. About our most likable, most hateable teams in the league. Because there's some like that. I think Penn State's one of those.
You can have the fans comment below what your most hated and most liked teams, besides your favorite, obviously.
Yeah.
Or you can even say what your favorite is and say teams you've never hated and teams you've always hated.
So there's fans of every team. But actually, when you talk about it like hated teams versus liked teams, if your team is on the most hated list, you should probably take it as a compliment. It means you're probably pretty good.
It means you've been good for the last decade or two.
If you're likable, it means you're probably like Penn State, where you've been like good.
You're like 7 to 18
But
all year.
That's how I used to be with Clemson, like way back when I was a kid.
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
And
when I was a kid, I loved Clemson because they were like the Penn State where they were never above like 7, but they were always like in the top 15.
Yeah.
And so they were really fun to watch because they were always competing with big teams.
They were always in a big bowl game.
And then after they won their first championship, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, first championship was dope. We watched that together.
Deshaun Watson.
Like 9th grade. Deshaun Watson. That was amazing. And then right after that, I was like, all right, let's watch someone else win.
Yeah.
So,
all right. For this next year, I kind of want to switch gears to what like you have ranked. Who are your dark horses, Chase?
Dark horses.
Because that's kind of like the next tier. I feel like those like middle ground teams, like 12 to 20 teams that we could see doing really well. Teams we could see kind of going like 8-4, 7-5.
Yeah.
So what are your dark horses?
So I'm going to go rapid fire. I'm saying these are somewhat in order. Obviously, it's a big list. But South Carolina, definitely a dark horse. Not really saying that I don't even think as a dark horse they'll win the SEC. But I think they're a dark horse to be a competitor and stay in the top 25 for a lot of the year. Texas Tech, now they have a chance, I think, to maybe make the Big 12 championship. I'm excited for Texas Tech. Utah, obviously, I don't think that's actually not much of a dark horse pick. I think that's a very solid
I feel like
pick.
they're always overlooked every year.
Always overlooked. Not a massive fan base, and people just
they're-
overlook Utah. They don't get much national recognition.
No.
So Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, North Carolina, Oregon State, Clemson, Tulane, Iowa, Kansas. Now, I did say Clemson in my dark horses.
The thing with Clemson is they have their quarterback situation figured out. They know who it's going to be. And they also have Shipley coming back, who was really good running back last year.
Shipley's good.
I think he's another player I don't think gets enough attention. I think he's going to be a really good running back as well. I think he'll have a breakout year. So
Yeah, I have Clemson in my teens. I don't know how good they're going to be, but I see the ACC being more dominated by North Carolina and Florida State this year. Prove me wrong. I think Clemson could still definitely do their thing and be top 10.
Yeah.
But I would like to see North Carolina and Florida State be good. I have Wisconsin in there. Wisconsin's got a lot of hype. We've talked about them before. I'm excited for them to come back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they will.
And then South Carolina, we've talked about, you have Rattler there to where I think they could definitely, especially end of last season, they had a great finish to where I think they're definitely someone to talk about.
Yeah.
But someone for me is, I saw a post about this on Instagram, is Iowa.
Dude, yeah.
Okay,
you probably saw the same thing
because they went 8-5 and they scored 18 points a game last season. 18.
Oh, I think it was less than that, bro. They were scoring like nothing.
Let's see.
Maybe you're right, but like
Iowa
18 points is still pretty low.
Football.
I remember first game of the season. I think it was first game. They were playing. Was it South Dakota State?
Yeah.
And they won. What was it? 5-2 or something.
It was something like it was insane.
Oh my gosh.
It was so weird.
The post. I'm assuming we're talking about the same post. If Iowa pretty much kept their whole defense, they lost a few big guys, but if Iowa even has the slightest improvement on offense, they could be insane. Against Ohio State last year, they would have been better punting on first down every single play.
Yeah.
They would have had more success.
No, see, here it is. Iowa only averaged 18.15 points and 250 yards a game last year. 250 is like what Washington would put up in a half.
Yeah.
Like, that's just insane. And they won 8 games. And I think most of their defense is coming back.
Yeah.
And they're in the West, right?
They're in the West, yeah.
Yeah, I think they could easily win the West. I think it's them or Wisconsin.
Yeah. And I think Wisconsin's more of a toss-up. I think Iowa literally put any transfer on offense, and they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, no, like I seriously think Iowa could surprise people and like actually make a run for it, just because their defense is so good.
Yeah, I agree.
And if they actually have an offense this year, I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
I don't follow Iowa. Hawkeye fans, you can comment below, but I don't know who you guys got in the portal or recruits. But if you guys actually have an offense, you guys.
I don't know if they pulled anybody very big.
You could actually.
I didn't see much transfer portal news from Iowa this year.
I mean, whoever they pulled will start because your offense last year was horrendous.
Yeah, literally, they would have been better punting on first down.
Yeah,
because their defense scored so many points. So Iowa's very interesting to watch this year.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that because their defense was, I think it was number like 2 overall in the nation last year.
It was up there, yeah.
Them and Illinois
And
had like the best defenses
obviously
in the
like
nation.
Georgia, but Illinois and Iowa.
And Oregon State had a good defense.
Oregon State did.
Yeah, Oregon State's another dark horse. We've talked about them a lot in our Pac-12 episode. They have nowhere to go but up, I would say, especially with getting DJ Uiagalelei.
Who just got drafted by the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's the news today. He got drafted by the Dodgers.
Hasn't played one single minute of college baseball.
Yeah, I'm assuming he played in high school, but I don't know. But for those of you who don't know, quickly, the MLB draft is really weird. They can draft pretty much anybody, and I believe they just draft the rights. If Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, or DJ wanted to ever go to the league, they would have the rights to them. And so there's been a few quarterbacks this has happened with just because they have such good arms.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean he's going to the MLB. It just is like really funny that he got drafted.
It was like the
nowhere.
weirdest post I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was like just barely I saw it.
Yeah.
Question I have for you is, what do you think of TCU?
TCU.
They lost a lot.
They lost the guys that made it magical. So for me,
But the thing is, maybe some of them left, but I do think they got a ton of transfers.
yeah, they did
like,
from Bama.
Yeah, like their coach has
They were
brought
stealing
in
them.
a ton of people.
Yeah.
To where, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say don't sleep on TCU because what did we just learn last year? We slept on TCU. So TCU lost Duggan, Johnston, and of course that's going to be hard to make up. They had a great team overall, but you're going to have to fill those gaps because Duggan was an absolute dog, made so many plays. He was just a playmaker. He wasn't even the best quarterback. I think he was drafted in the 7th round or
he was just like the most gritty guy of all time.
Gritty. Yeah,
like
ginger.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I just remember him after the Kansas State loss in like the Big 12 championship. He's just like crying his eyes out. He should be. They had a crazy season and then they kind of fell apart.
Shows how community was.
But he's just like, I think we still deserve to be there. They beat Michigan. That was we talked about was one of our favorite games to where
insane.
But yeah, I think Sonny Dykes is definitely doing something special down there at TCU.
Great coach.
Especially with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, I think them, probably Texas Tech are probably the front runners for the following season in Kansas State. So I'm excited for TCU. I think it's fun to have them be good at football. So
yeah. I'm also excited for Kansas, talking about the Big 12. I think Kansas is another one of those teams. They don't really have anywhere to go but up. They have their boy, is it JT Daniels?
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen. Okay, I know.
Jaden and Jalen.
There's Jaden and Jalen Daniels. Kansas has Jalen Daniels, who's pretty much the same thing. He's an insane dual threat quarterback that can throw 100 yards and run the ball like nothing other. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what he does. He won Big 12 preseason player of the year, I believe, which I don't really know what preseason player of the year means, but basically they're saying he's the best player in the conference this year. Yeah. Coming into this year. So I'm really excited for what Kansas does. They had a really weird year last year. We've talked about it. They went 6-0 and they had pretty much game against
TCU, College Game Day, and then they lost, and they kind of lost their next
The 6. Arkansas bowl game was really tough. Did they still finish 6-7? They did.
That's actually a good bowl game. Yeah. That was actually a really fun bowl game, I have to admit.
That was a crazy game.
Arkansas, too, is another team. Their quarterback, Jefferson, I think he's very underrated.
He could be pretty good.
I think he's kind of like all the running backs I've talked about. I think he's a QB that I think he's going to be really good this year.
Yeah, he's another guy that I think he's an absolute star. It just depends on how the team can rally around him. Yeah. He's already put himself, his draft stock's very high. He's already up there. I see posts all the time that say he's a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the SEC, which I totally respect. Yeah. He's insane. So we'll see how he does. It all depends on if Arkansas can actually make it a team effort. Last year, he was supposed to be good as well, and they just couldn't quite pull together. They ended up being kind of disappointing last year. Lost to Liberty at home. And so, I don't know. Arkansas is very, very hard to say right now. Yeah. They could be very good. They could also be mid.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah. And then another team I wanted to highlight, kind of like FSU, is Texas. They do have Quinn Ewers. Don't get me wrong. I love Quinn. I think, like I've said multiple times, if he did not get injured, they would have beat Bama. And I fully believe that.
Amen.
But they lost the man, Bijan Robinson, to where I don't know what to expect of Texas, because Bijan was their offense pretty much for most of last year. Like, if they needed yards, it was going to him.
It is hard to tell because they didn't have Quinn.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, he was like injured, not injured throughout the season. Quinn was to where, I don't know, but Bijan, even when he was in, just took every play.
Yeah.
I mean, which I don't blame them. He's a beast. He was a first-round draft pick, so much deserved. But I don't know. It's kind of like FSU for me. Like, they have a really good quarterback, but it's Texas, kind of like FSU. They always come in with hype, and it's just like, do they live up to it?
If there's a slight chance of hype, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So I could see the AP poll coming out and putting Texas at like 5.
No, I agree.
Out of nowhere.
I mean, I'd love to see Texas be good. Hook 'em horns all the way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I've never ridden the Texas bandwagon, but it would be fun to see them good again.
Yeah.
As a college football fan, I'd be like, yo, this would be dope. Texas in the playoff would be so sick. So I'd love to see it.
I think a lot of college football fans, I don't know what to think of how fans would feel about it, because they always are just, like, horns down, Texas isn't back. It's like the biggest meme,
Yeah.
To where I don't know what. I personally feel like it'd be good for college football.
I think it would be too.
Because I think Texas has one of the best fan bases. I feel like they're
definitely one of the biggest, probably
one
top
of the
5.
biggest, but I feel like they're also some of the most loyal. They've had so many mid years now for almost a decade straight. Like, they haven't been, like, they had the one season with Colt McCoy and they lost to Bama, and then they've just been like mid.
They had the Sugar Bowl win against Georgia.
Yeah.
And that was it, though. I think 2010s, that was their only 10-win season.
Yeah, that was like their one highlight the last few years, to where it's like,
maybe they've had another one, but
yeah, I feel like Texas and Penn State are kind of like in the mix of, these fans deserve a team in the playoff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of the better teams of the CFP era. Surprised that Texas Longhorns have not made the playoff yet. Yeah. I didn't think it would take this long. So we'll see. Same as like USC. USC and Texas have not made the 2000s teams.
If you were to tell any college football fan that in like the years of 04 to 07, they would not believe you.
They'd be like, no way.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you said, all right, yeah, by the way, in 2028, like, Bama will not make the playoff for several years.
Or like they won't be in like a New Year's 6 for years. It's
yeah.
Like,
I'd be like, yo, what?
Yeah.
So.
And then I had one more question. I guess we can both answer. Who are your, like, non-Power 5? You kind of mentioned them, but, like, why? I think you said Tulane was one of them. I don't know if you had anyone else.
Yeah.
But, like, why are you having... Obviously, Tulane, they beat USC last year. I think a lot of their players are coming back, to where... Why do you think that? I think their quarterback's coming back.
Yeah, I believe he is. I love Group of 5 teams. I'm the guy, being from Mountain West country out here in Utah, growing up watching BYU, Utah, and TCU battle it out in the Mountain West. Also San Diego State, don't want to forget you guys. I have a love for the Group of 5 and a respect for Group of 5 teams. There has been a recent thing going on social media. I can't remember who it was. A college football analyst said there should be a Group of 5 playoff.
That'd actually be kind of sick.
That'd be crazy. I don't really know how that would work. It could be really disappointing.
If you were to be invited to like the Cotton Bowl, I'd pick that over playing in a playoff.
Yeah, the Cotton Bowl is invited usually the top American team to
I don't know, maybe in the future they'll have it. I mean, we could talk about this in another episode, like the 12 team playoff or whatever it becomes. Like, maybe they'll have like the 2 Group of 5s feed in from a playoff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. They still have not. It's hard because now the conferences are rearranging. The playoff is next year, the 12 team playoff. And so they've already reported that they've agreed on it being a conference champions automatic bid. And so it begs the question, what conference champions? Like, is that Power 5 and the American and Mountain West? Or is it just the American? Or is it the CUSA gets a team in there? Or the MAC? Yeah, dude, I would love some MACtion in the playoff. That'd be crazy. Have Toledo come out of nowhere. So that'd be cool. But
maybe they can do like the World Cup. The
World Cup and group stage?
Yeah, like 8 groups of 4. And then the top 2.
There'd be so many football games. That'd be crazy.
That'd be sick.
That'd be cool, yeah. Just have like some action that's like on college game day.
Yeah.
Like some crazy stuff. That'd be cool.
Why not?
Yeah. Dude, I love action. Tuesday night action.
Yeah.
I love watching college football. Yeah. I don't care who it is. If it's Toledo and Ohio, it's lit.
Yeah. A team I wanted to highlight is from my very own San Antonio, the Roadrunners. I want to highlight them because I think they can get some attention. It's their first season in the American, right?
Ooh.
The AAC?
I don't know if they moved. I don't think they were one of the ones who moved.
Let me see.
Let's check. You can check.
UTSA football conference.
CUSA. Well,
The 2023 UTSA Roadrunners will be
no
in the
way.
American. So it's their
No
first
way.
season. And
I did not think they were going to the American.
That's
Let's go
sick.
UTSA,
That is
man.
sick.
They just you guys realize that UTSA was FCS like less than 10 years ago.
yeah,
So that means they've gone up. They've surpassed many teams. I believe they only became Division One, or not. Sorry, not Division One. FBS.
yeah.
I believe in the old realignment in 2010 or 2011. I think. Correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's when they
go
won.
Roadrunners.
So I think
Those are
that's
my
very
boys.
impressive. That surprises me,
But
actually.
a thing is, I have it right here. Their quarterback threw for 4,000 yards last year. He's coming back.
Oh.
They had a receiver. He's coming back with 1,100 yards. And their running back, as a freshman, almost had 900 yards. So all three of them are coming back.
Yeah.
So I think UTSA definitely could be the non-Power 5 team this year.
Another team I wanted to talk about. No one talks about these guys. I don't know why. I think it's just because they're a mid team usually in the Mountain West. Fresno State. So Fresno State finished ranked last year, which was pretty impressive for them because they started out 1-4
Yeah.
in the 2022 season.
They
1-4,
and
with their only win being against an FCS opponent.
Yeah, Cal Poly.
They had beat Cal Poly, lost 4 straight,
But they
and
won
then
out.
they won out.
They beat Boise State in the Mountain West Championship game, and then they killed Washington State in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl 29-6.
That's crazy. So this team went 10-4. They had 10 wins, starting out 1-4.
Yeah.
That's one of the craziest stats I've ever heard. Fresno State finished out, rallied together, made it insane, and I'm assuming they're keeping most of those guys. I don't know that much about Fresno State right now.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. But,
pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited, especially those 4 teams we talked about, especially UTSA, because I know I grew up in San Antonio, to where having that tiny team that was always there,
Yeah.
being in the American, which is kind of like the bigger, not if you're not in the big conference, that's the next one usually. They just moved 4 teams up into the Big 12.
What would they,
most 3.
What would they advertise? They used to. I remember they had commercials that were like Power 6 or something. They would say,
Yeah.
they would include themselves in the
Yeah,
Power 5. I can't remember what they did. They had a commercial that would like do that though.
yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, they usually have the 2 big teams that are ranked in their conference. So we'll see who does that this year, as their UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati are the 3 teams that pretty much have always been the best ones, except for last year being Tulane. Those are the 3 that were always the top dogs, and they're all gone now. So
Yeah.
the American's wide open with some new teams.
Tulane and UTSA.
I think UTSA could be the newcomer that surprises everybody. You know, Tulane, UTSA, American Championship. Could be crazy.
I'd go to that game.
Dude, should we go?
Yeah, podcast live. from
Dude, lives. Yeah, College Game Day, they don't want to cover that championship.
Yeah.
We do.
We're
American.
better. We cover everything.
We cover everything, okay? We'll cover where the College Game Day is missing. We'll get them.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that's mainly it. This was kind of just like we just wanted to get something out there because it's been a minute. We just had been super crazy.
We're glad to be back.
Yes. To where hopefully expect at least 1 a week minimum. To where hopefully we can get back in the consistency of things. And this is our first video, so it might be a little choppy. So just
Forgive us. It's our first time.
bear with us, you know.
We're just one of you guys.
With our Xbox background going here, you probably saw like my Halo achievements come up. So yeah, pretty cool.
They come up on there?
Like for a second.
Let's go.
It's like right here. It's like
Let's go.
You know me.
Yeah.
I'm on that Halo grind. But,
Play some Fortnite later. It'd be
yeah,
fun.
sure.
Or Halo.
Yeah. All right, let's do it.
I bet.
But yeah, so that's my top. That's our not really super solidified, but top 25.
Hey, that's how it's supposed to be.
Showtime.
You can't put teams in
Showtime
places.
college football's top 25
Top 25.
in episode 8. First YouTube episode.
Showtime College Football. All right, boys. Signing off. We'll see you guys next time. Oh, wait. I forgot our thing.
Bro, didn't even do our like signature leave. Aw.
Dude, it's been like
Our-
2 weeks.
Dude, you didn't even. Wow.
All right. Give me a
Wow.
sec. Give me a sec.
That is. Dude, this is like your thing than mine, and you just forget. I didn't forget.
Give me a sec,
that
give me a
is-
sec.
Everyone come at him in the comments for that one.
Hey,
Signing off from Show
time.
College Football. Gosh, dude. You just forgot the outro?
Yeah. Yeah,
We're 8 episodes in and you just forget it.
Rick.
We came up with that episode 1.